You started your business to build something great, but now you find yourself the chief of everything. Juggling all the balls is holding you back. I'm Catherine Brown, and this is the podcast for founders ready to trade the all-the-hat hustle for high-impact growth. We've invited top subject matter experts across all business areas to come share what they believe founders need to know. Start using the levers that actually move the needle. Welcome to Chief of Everything. Welcome back to the Chief of Everything. I'm so excited for you to meet my friend, Ellen Williams. Her firm is called The Salient Strategist, and she has worn many hats throughout her career. When I think of her as a business analyst, a tech advisor. She has tons of project management experience. And of course, with a name like The Salient Strategist, a lot of strategic planning in her background. Today, in our interview, we're focusing more on her role as an author, because I think what she has to say about presence, rest, our energy, self-care, all of the above are things that I know as a serial founder I have really needed. So I'm really excited for you to know about her recent book, just dropped, called Creating Time, The Key to Productivity and Peace. Ellen, welcome to the Chief of Everything.
Catherine, thank you so much. I am so excited to be here today.
Well, as a squirrel chaser, love to fill my calendar, busy person, I know my personal brand precedes me in being someone who enjoys a very full schedule. Let's dive right in to why this topic is on the Chief of Everything podcast. I think it's provocative, I think it's interesting, and I think it's critical that we talk about some of the topics that you cover in your book. So my first question for all of my guests in this series is this counterintuitive truth, right? A paradigm shift. What is a principle that founders get wrong, but is actually the secret to their growth?
So I think the principle that founders get wrong is that they always have to be doing something. What really needs to happen is prioritization. And the only way to prioritize is to stop, is to pause, take a step back, and really think through what you're trying to accomplish. So you can have a crazy busy schedule, and you do, and I use time blocking for mine. So yeah, my days can be full, but you need that breathing room. You need to be able to say, okay, I need to make a decision. If something pops up, everything just stops.
What are the most common objections that you hear? Because I hear you and I think, well, of course I need to do that, and then find myself sometimes not doing that. So what are people's excuses or common objections?
I have too much to do, right? When you are running your business, you are in many cases wearing a lot of hats, depending on how many people you have, whether they're staff or you've outsourced some services. But you are the wheel that keeps it rolling, and you have to do everything, or at least you think you do. And the truth is, nobody can do everything. And you can be the chief of everything, but that means you're delegating, you're letting other people do some things. So a lot of pushback is I don't have the time, or I have too much to do.
So Ellen, I love when you said that, because you just took the podcast title and kind of flipped it on its head. It's like, actually, I will be chief of everything in different ways throughout the evolution of my business. What might be the case is that in the beginning, I'm usually not doing it in a healthy way, right? I'm not really evolving the way that will create a long-term sustainable plan for my health, involving other people, properly delegating. Yeah, please build on that.
So when you're wearing so many hats, your what most people refer to as a to-do list becomes enormous, becomes overwhelming. And I did a quick survey for my book. as far as how people use to-do lists and if they use them. And unanimously, everyone who filled out the survey said, yes, they use to-do lists. Some of them help prioritize. Some of them love to see the things getting crossed off. I, in my book, refer to them as decision lists because when you put information or tasks on this list, you're really deciding whether or not and when you're going to do them. And what I found over the years, and I love these lists, I brain dump constantly because then I don't have to remember it. I have a list. But what I found over the years is eventually things just naturally drop off. You make the decision that what was you thought was important today, when it's time to actually do that thing, maybe it's not so important. So I think it's really a decision list that helps you create your priorities. And that can help you feel a little less burdened. If there's 100 things on my list, I have to get all this done. Well, start with the one that's most important. And then, of course, as you take things off, things are going to be added. But there will be things that you just realize you don't have to do.
Ellen, what about the issue of identity? Like, as I'm listening to you talk, and I think, why would a person not make time to reflect? Or why would they resist the evolution that will benefit them of becoming one kind of chief, to starting out as one kind of chief of everything and then evolving to another? Like, we're talking about identity, and I'll confess for our listeners, and maybe you'll have a story around this, or maybe you can relate, but I'll confess that sometimes wearing myself out seems like a badge of honor. That somehow I'm showing I care about my members that much, or I'm that committed to the cause, or I don't know, it's kind of this broken way of framing an identity. Did that come up in any of your research, or have you seen that with your clients?
I hear exactly what you're saying. And identity needs to come from within, I think, versus what other people identify you as or how you think other people are going to react to you. And it really comes down to the core of my book, which is being present. Because when you're present, you're not necessarily running yourself ragged because you're going to start noticing it before you get there. And I actually talk a little bit about burnout in the book as well. What you want to do is practice being present and practice what that feels like to have that alignment with who you are internally, who you want to be. And when you start developing that, then you won't rush so much to get so much done. And you will start to have your identity be within you first. So one of the stories I have in the book is how I started on this journey. And it was unfortunately in a verbally abusive marriage. And I was sitting in my bedroom listening to my kids play outside. My ex-husband was outside, and we had the cute little yard with the 2 cars in the house and the fence. And I was completely miserable and empty inside. And I said, this just can't be. This can't be the American dream, can't be this. And so within a few days, I was at Barnes and Noble because I'm an avid reader. And I found a book by Tony Robbins called Awaken the Giant Within. And that really kicked off this journey of understanding who I am, who I want to be, not, well, we got the American dream that my husband wanted, but it had nothing to do with the life I wanted. And understanding that it's our choices and our decisions that create our world. And I was creating his world. And I often tell myself where I am today, right here on this awesome podcast, is a result of all the decisions I've made up to this point. And if you're at peace and you're happy with where you are, which I am, then I don't have to look back. I have to keep moving forward.
I like to say that I think entrepreneurship really tests who we are as a person. I love that you referenced Tony Robbins, Ellen, because I used to think I didn't need things like that, that somehow that was beneath me. I have come from a smart family, very intellectual friends. I thought personal development was silly. And now I think it's synonymous with professional development. I think personal development is professional development because if you can't manage yourself and practice some of the things you're talking about here, you will burn out. You will not be happy. And the whole reason you started a business, you're not going to get to that end of that journey because most people want freedom
Yeah.
and time, right? More money, more freedom, more time. But we get in these seemingly endless cycles where we're working very hard, not really progressing and not building the life that we wanted. So I just love this edition on the podcast where you're challenging us to think about these things because the people that are listening are probably in pretty early stages in their business where they're working very hard. And the message of presence is a real gift.
Well, I appreciate that. Every entrepreneur, when they jump in, they do work hard. I've been there multiple times. I've been entrepreneur, employee, back and forth throughout my career. This last time, I think I got it right from all the mistakes that I made in the past. And for all the people listening who are new entrepreneurs, get ready. You're going to make a bunch of mistakes.
And if you're listening to this and not watching, you're missing me. I'm doing the snaps. Like, I'm so glad you felt like you got it better because we should get better each time, right?
Hopefully, yeah. So the key about being present enables you also to be authentic. For many years, whether I was the entrepreneur, because as an entrepreneur, I was a service professional. So I was always at my client. So, regardless of whether I was an employee or an entrepreneur, I would show up with the mask that I thought they expected. This is who they hired. This is the way that person would behave, or at least what I thought they thought that person would be doing. And it didn't cause problems, but over time, it caused internal issues. Back to your question about identity, right? Who I am at home is not who I am with this client or who I am with that client. And it was my now husband, after my divorce that I referenced earlier, who really taught me it's okay for me to be me. The people around you, the people who care about you, they see you for who you really are, even when you don't. And when you start to believe them, because that takes some time, and see yourself through their eyes, you can then start to be yourself everywhere. And when you bring yourself to your business, to your family, to an event, it's much more meaningful because your identity is actually who you are inside and you're sharing that with other people. So the relationships that you start to develop are more true.
It's making me think of the first interview we had in the series was Sarah Sears talking about brand strategy. And she was describing that your brand is simply what people think of you, your customers and others think of you. And it's interesting to come full circle and think that what I hear you saying is if we also take the best of input from people we trust, that we feel like really know us and see the best of us, and we reincorporate that, reinstall that back, then we allow them to give us the gift of understanding this is actually how those wonderful people see your brand. And then by creating the space and having presence, you then can carry through with your actions and realign your schedule and your decision lists to match who you really want to be. How's that for a summary?
I love that you said reinstall because so often when we're churning and spinning that wheel and we have an idea of what an entrepreneur is, and you try to meet that. And there's many opportunities to lose yourself along the way
Mm.
when you have so many tasks and so much to do, and you become overwhelmed and burned out. So I love that you said reinstall it, because it's there. It's there. And sometimes you lose it. And I certainly did.
Mm.
So the ability for over time and practice being present when my body starts to feel a way that's uncomfortable, I know like immediately something's up. What is it? And I stop. And what's going on? Why am I feeling this way? What am I thinking? Am I doubting myself? What would my husband say? Right? What would my friends say? And that helps me reinstall that level of confidence and knowledge that I'm capable. So the practice of being present is so valuable because it does help you create time. It helps you with the priorities. It helps you see what matters.
Ellen, let's wrap up with a couple of other examples of this idea of cultivating presence. So I'm an entrepreneur, I'm listening, and I'm saying, yes, I raise my hand. I want to be a more evolved chief of everything. I want to do it in a good way and not a bad way. I want to learn to delegate. I want to prioritize the right things. I don't want to wear myself out. What else do you suggest people do to increase their self-awareness and start to have good habits that will help them grow and scale and be successful in the long term?
Sure. Let's start small. Have you ever lost your keys? Have you ever misplaced your phone? Or how about your glasses? I can't tell you how many pairs of glasses I have.
They're
Just
all
so I
in my
don't have
house.
to go
They're
hunting.
like
Oh,
all
look,
in my
there's one
house.
right here. Exactly. Exactly. And the reason you're misplacing, we'll stick with the cell phone. The reason you misplace your cell phone is because you put it down somewhat unconsciously. You're not present to, you're not looking at my phone goes here. So that when the next time you look for your phone, you can, oh yes, I consciously, I was present when I put it down. Because a lot of us will walk in and put it down. My husband's notorious for putting things where he's never put them before. And, and
It's a new place.
this is a new place, exactly. So it's those types of things when you're talking with people, when you're out networking and you're listening to someone, right? The advice is always to be present and actually listen, not preparing what your answer is, but understanding what's being said to you. And that's a great practice. But that needs to happen everywhere. So wherever you are, and it takes practice and it takes years.
Okay.
Wherever you are, understand that that's where you are. I feel like Yogi Berra. But so if I'm in a waiting room, right, I can be present to, I have time now. I have to wait. What am I going to use this time with? Or I can be present to observing who else is in the room or how I'm feeling, as opposed to, doing something that might be mindless and you don't remember. So by being present when you're doing things in your own business. Today, I'm on this podcast. I am completely focused on this podcast. I'm present here. When this is over, I have things on my calendar where I've blocked time that I know now it's time to go back to my calendar. What am I going to do next? As opposed to having just numerous things come at me. And even if that happens, then we go back to your first question. You stop and become present that I now have 5 things that I did not expect to happen, just showed up. I have to understand each one, prioritize, and figure out how to continue to be present moving forward. Because when you start having conversations you don't remember, saying things you don't remember, that's when you realize you really weren't present.
This phrase is coming to my mind while you're speaking, Ellen. It's reminding me that when I worked with an executive coach, he gave me this phrase because we were talking about my leader identity and what it would take for me to be able to see myself as a leader of leaders. And so he gave me this phrase. He said, Some of my clients enjoy filling in the blank to this phrase. It's normal for high achievers to blank. Because you're trying to reset, right? So as opposed to just having more grit, more work, more hustle, what's coming to me is it's normal for high achievers, or maybe you want to say it's normal for real chiefs of everything to be fully present and not invite distraction. Something like that. It's reminding me of being in line the last time I flew. I just was doing some consulting work out of town, and I'm standing in the line at Southwest Airlines waiting for my, A or B group to board, and every single person around me was on their phone. And I noticed that I felt that the instinct to grab my phone because I thought, well, if no one's going to talk to me or I'm going to look weird being the one not on my phone, maybe I should be on my phone too. But I thought, why are we all on our phone? Because we want to fill every second. Right. And so I'm seeing myself while you're talking, and I'm thinking that was an opportunity to be present that I didn't recognize in the moment.
It sounds like you were present. You can recall it clearly. You were
Mm,
observant. You
mm,
understood where you were, and you made a conscious decision to not use your phone. You were
mm,
absolutely being present.
mm. Yeah, maybe I was discounting that because I felt a conflict. Like I felt the pull of the phone.
Right. Right.
Mm,
And you made a decision. And the fact that you can recall it and the fact that you felt it, you were present to that feeling
mm.
and you made a choice. Because in the end, every day we have tons of choices, like thousands of choices.
Too
There's
many
research
choices.
on that. It's yeah, because of all the stuff, the media and everything coming at us. But there's always a choice, even when we don't think there is, because it could be this is bad, this is worse. There's no choice. Well, of course there's a choice. You're going to pick the one that's least worse, even if both choices are bad to you or I don't want to do either one, but I have to do one of them for whatever reason. I have to make a choice. And so the more you're present to the decisions, the priorities you're making, the choices you're making. Now, in your story, there wasn't really a priority, but there was a choice. Yeah, I'm
Uh-huh.
in line and you're observant, you're being present at the airport. And I'm going to choose not to do that. And it's in those moments where you're creating time. You created time to think, you created time
Mm.
to observe. And it almost slows down a little because you're not, I have 5 minutes. I can get three things done. And all of a
I could
sudden
go
you're
check
rushed.
LinkedIn, right? I could check
Right,
LinkedIn. I
right.
could check my email. Yeah, yeah.
But now you have 3 minutes and you're in line and you're just observing and you got on the plane and you didn't feel rushed.
Mm.
And I mean, creating time is really just finding those moments or creating those moments where you have peace, where you have time to think, where you have time to breathe. And it's by clearing other things out of the way because we all have 24 hours in a day
Hmm.
and we all choose how to use them. So I create time by making those choices my priorities and by making sure my day is not 100% full. So I have those moments of peace too.
Mm. Thank you, Ellen. What a gift.
Thank you so much.
So, friends, I'm thinking about Ellen's definition of how we create time. She said we create time by first noticing the choices that are available to us. Do I have to reach for my phone just because everyone else is in line? Do I have to fit in one more thing because I got somewhere 5 minutes early? We have power when we actually pace ourselves and give ourselves the gift of the presence of the moment. What a joy to take that power back in our own lives and remember this is why we started companies. This is why we like being self employed. This is why we're entrepreneurs, is so that we can build the life we want. And I know for me, the life I want includes more presence and deliberate action toward my goals in service of others. So thanks, Ellen. Thank you for the gift that this was to us. And thanks for listening to Chief of Everything. If you have found this helpful, please share it with a friend and give us a rating and give us some feedback. And we appreciate you.